I'm Chris McSwain from Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, 8th Street Realty Group, and welcome to our blog today. The blog is Where the Locals Go. Today we have the real honor of having George with us from Palmetto Aerial Imagery. And George, I'd like to just introduce yourself to our audience and tell us a little bit about your business.
Well, I came to Beaufort in 2000 with the United States Marine Corps, like a lot of people do. I got out in 2003 and decided to stay here. Worked for the police department for 18 plus years, and now work as a part-time doing this drone business here in Beaufort, doing real estate mostly, but try to do whatever comes my way. I try to make the customer happy.
Sure. Well, thanks for your service, by the way.
Thank you very much.
Well, you know what? I love drones, and if you don't mind, and the aerial photography, particularly what I've seen you do, is just amazing.
Thank you.
You know, what led to your interest in aerial photography and drones, and how did you become proficient in it?
Well, I actually grew up around aviation. My father was worked for the FAA, and I got a lot of experience to flying different things. So I always loved flying. Drones are a little bit more affordable than to fly, you know, personally yourself.
Sure.
So it's kind of the fun of flying with little of the risk. But I actually, when I was at the police department, I've always loved technology and aviation. So this is kind of like the marriage of the two, and I got it trained on how to basically to get the license from the FAA to fly commercially, to be able to make money by doing it. You can't just go out and buy a drone and do it and do it commercially without going through the proper steps.
Sure, I understand it, as it should be.
Right.
Well, you know, when the average person comes up, you know, they've certainly seen examples of this on TV, and they're like, wow, that's spectacular. How do you help a customer make their decisions about what it is that they should be emphasizing with drone photography that you know is going to come out just perfect in the end?
Well, you know, it's funny that you say that, because I've learned, you know, it's kind of a give and take. You know, I let the customer know, like, okay, well, this is what's possible, you know, either through technology, lighting conditions, or regulations, like, hey, here's what I can do for you, here's what I can't do. But a lot of the times they give me tips on what makes something better, you know, so it's a constant evolution, a constant learning process, you know, and so it's intuitive to a realtor, you know, makes common sense when you want shots, especially waterfront shots, when the tide is up, you know, little things like that. So like I learn from the customer, and I tell the customer what I can do, and I just try to get better, and I try to, you know, bring value to the customer, and it's only happened one time, but if something does not turn out the way you like it, then I will come back out and I will make it right. You know? So
well, that's great, and I wouldn't expect anything different from having gotten to know you a little bit before our interview today.
Thank you.
Well, so what time of the day to you has the best shots?
Well, especially when you're looking at static things like real estate, you know, whatever gives the best light, which is usually, you know, depending on what you want to feature, you know, but typically for me, top-down lighting, you know, noonday sun, high in the sky, gives you good even lighting, and I like that. But a lot of the times, you know, it just depends. Again, the customer is the boss, you know, like it's whatever they want, you know, and like I may not understand why they want what they want, but hey, my job is to give them what they want. So
well, me too.
Yeah.
I can appreciate that. So one of the things that I've observed in some of your aerial photography is the combination of natural beauty and other objects moving, like boats. I've seen, like on my website, the first thing that people see is a boat going underneath the bridge behind us. So what are your thoughts when you try to consider what is the right set of conditions that would have like a wow factor? How do you see those combination of things bringing the best impact and effect?
I try to see things, when I look at something, like how do I set something up, I try to look at it as what I want to see as the customer, a consumer, or a person that, like, if I'm considering Beaufort, and, you know, and when I do these things, especially shots with things around here, you know, it's selling Beaufort and like condensing what Beaufort is into something that can impact people. They can see it, and then they can look at it in a very short period of time. They can understand this is what Beaufort is about. And I've lived here for 24 years. My children were born here. Like, you know, this is home to me, you know. Sure. So I really like it here. It's a beautiful place. So, you know, like the shot you mentioned, I mean, what is more quintessentially Beaufort than a boat going underneath the Woods Bridge? You know, maybe the bridge turning, and I have some video of the bridge turning and a ship going through, you know. So it's just anything that like really grabs people and says this is Beaufort and gives them a sense of what we have here.
This is an amazing place. For those that haven't visited Beaufort that may be looking at this video, it is a really interesting combination of water, whether it's in a intercoastal waterway, the ocean, the tidal areas. It is amazing. And that's what I think is one of the really awesome things about your business, is that you can capture that for people who don't have a boat or can't go out on a boat every day. You can show people exactly what it's like from the water.
Yes, sir.
And the view of the low country is so much different from the water than it is from the land looking out, particularly as you pointed out at high tide. But I'd also say, George, sunsets here are pretty amazing.
Yes, and I love them. I do. And again, I hate to go back to the same thing over and over again, but it's just, and if you live here and you've been here, it's a stunning place.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of places like that in the world, but I just really everything for me, in the timing that I was here in the service, like everything, just Beaufort was where I was meant to be. So. I have a special appreciation for it.
Well, I'm glad you're here now. I have to ask a couple of these other questions.
Yes, sir.
Like, what's your favorite spot? You've been all over Beaufort, 24 years in the area.
That's a tough one because there's so many. I would have to say the bridge and the waterfront. Like the waterfront is, when I worked in the city, it was, the saying is the waterfront is the crown jewel of the city, and the city is the county seat of the county. So to me, I really think that is. If I had to pick one, and there's a few that would vie for that top spot, but if I had to narrow it down to one, that would be the area.
Well, one thing I've observed in just the technology of drones and aerial imagery is just how fast it is evolving. This was technology that probably started in the military at some point and now has a civilian application.
Yes, sir.
I've seen examples of drones flying pretty fast and in and through objects. Is what you do capable of doing all that?
It's capable of going pretty quick, like what I think you're referring to, the first-person drones that have the really high maneuverability and the really high speed. That's not really the one that I use. It's meant for more stable, slow flight, because you want to get those sweeping, good, clean shots. You don't want a lot of motion. Now, if I want to develop that capability for the business, if there's a need for that, I could certainly acquire one of those type of drones. But the way I fly that, I try to do very smooth inputs. Not a lot of jerkiness, not a lot of speed in the motion. You want to kind of sweep through and let the customer and the viewer see what there is to see.
Wonderful. Well, now I have to ask, what's probably the most unimpressive experience you've had? Have you lost any drones?
Well, I actually lost a drone where we're standing not very far from a spot where I lost one due to a battery issue. It was a very painful experience. I don't even like to think about it. It was bad, but I dusted myself off. I got a replacement, and right back on the horse, and because it's too much fun, and it's just too much of a good time not to.
Well, that's why you need to come to George, so you can avoid making those kind of mistakes. But I think we're going to have a small demonstration here in just a minute. Would you mind bringing out your drone and buzzing around a little bit and let people kind of see you in action?
Not at all.
All right. Thanks,
awesome.
George.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Palmetto Aerial Imagery, right behind us. That's awesome, George. Thank you so much for giving everybody basically a bird's eye view of what it's like.
You're absolutely welcome, sir. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much,
Yes,
George.
sir.
Take care.
All right.
Yes.